Mercy, you finally arrived. Wipe the dust from your shoes and come in, sugar. Your presence will be such a tonic for poor, dear Mrs. Beaumont. She's been fanning herself by the window in a state of absolute agitation awaiting you. Now, if y'all can find it in your hearts to indulge us for one fleeting afternoon, we are going to make a brave pretense of having actually paid attention in those drafty schoolrooms of our youth. We are going to cast our eyes upon some literature. Oh, honey, don't recoil like a wilted gardenia. We had that very same visceral reaction, I assure you. But please don't fret. This won't be some dreary, moth-eaten fourth-grade book report, and it most certainly is not that wretched English 101 paper you ghost wrote for that adorably dull fraternity boy, the one with the jawline of a god and the intellect of a damp brick.
In the shadows of the South, music is never merely a matter of meter or rhyme. It is a blood pulse, a haunting choir rising from the red clay and the stagnant swamp water. These melodies are our true inheritance, carrying the weight of a century's grief and glory in the time it takes for a tallow candle to flicker and die. Within the span of a few desperate minutes, a song unearths the same ghosts that Capote, Flagg, and Mitchell spent hundreds of ink-stained pages trying to exorcise. The secrets they buried in chapters of typeset prose, the family rot, the hidden sins, and the fierce, jagged beauty of our land are all laid bare in the vibration of a single steel string. Harper Valley P.T.A., written by Tom T. Hall and sung by Jeannie C. doesn't just mock the South, it demands that the South live up to the virtues it claims to hold. It remains a definitive piece of Southern literature because it captures the exact moment when the old South moral authority was challenged by the new South reality. Now you gather round, and I shall tell you a story of a day when the truth did not merely walk, it marched. It was a year of turning, 1968, a time when the world was shedding its skin like a copperhead on a hot rock. In the town of Harper Valley, the air was as still as a held breath, expectant and brittle, like the fine bone china in a Charleston sideboard that's waited too long for a guest. There was a man, a storyteller they called Tom T. Hall, who possessed the vision to see the rot behind the white picket fences. He took a memory from his youth and carved it into a narrative, but it was Jeannie C. who breathed the fire into its lungs. She didn't just sing, she testified. Dressed in her miniskirt and those defiant go-go boots, she became a walking synecdoche for a generation gap that was widening like a fissure in the earth. She was the scorned but proud spirit of the New South, standing at the crossroads of the Nashville Sound and a burgeoning social reckoning. The rhythm of this tale is the rhythm of a steady march, driven by a biting dobro lick that mimics the clacking of a typewriter, the sound of a record being kept, a ledger of sins. Our witness is the daughter of Mrs. Johnson, a peripheral soul watching from the tall grass. It is her eyes that see the note left upon the blackboard, a cold summons from the self-appointed judges of Israel, the Harper Valley P.T.A. These people, these councilmen and bridge club socialites, were the architects of a polite cruelty. They sat in their high places, wrapped in the Southern honor code like a shroud, and they cast stones at a widowed mother because her skirts were short and her spirit was tall. They questioned her fitness as a mother, hiding their own decay behind the moonlight and magnolias facade. But this story, you see, is a work of the Southern grotesque. It peels back the wallpaper to show the termites dancing in the studs. Mrs. Johnson did not go to them in a spirit of supplication. No, she walked into that junior high school room with the grace of a woman who knows where the bodies are buried. She used the sharp snapshots of their own lives, the long-distance calls to secret lovers, the shirking of duties, the hidden bottles, as a mirror. She took the burden of history, the gossip mill that grinds the poor and the mod into dust, and she turned it back upon the elite. She subverted the trope of the tragic fallen woman, refusing to meet the sad end the town had scripted for her. Instead, she became the hero of a working-class anthem. The rhyme scheme was tight, percussive as a drum beat, day, stay, PTA, and Jeannie C. Riley stretched those vowels with a low country drawl that made every word feel like a lash. It was a confrontation of class, a battle between the struggling widowed mother and the town's moral police. It wasn't about the ancient wars of the past, it was about the internal warfare of the present, the friction between the Bible Belt's rigid grip and the reality of a changing world. When she finished speaking, that monument of social reckoning stood tall. Harper Valley was never the same. The song reinforced for the world that every small town has its Peyton Plunge skeletons, but for us in the South, it was a victory song for the underdog. It demanded that the community live up to the virtues it so loudly proclaimed. It was the moment the Old South's moral authority was challenged by a woman who refused to be ashamed of her own truth.
Now don't stand there looking at me with those wide, wounded eyes, honey. I can't bear a scene when the humidity's this high. If you're looking for that melody, that sweet, aching little tune we just talked about, it's waiting for you down in the description. It's tucked away like a love letter you weren't supposed to find, but there it is, plain as the moon over the delta. And listen to me, sugar, don't be cruel. Reach out your hand and tap that like icon, and for heaven's sake, subscribe to us. A soul needs a little attention to keep from fading away into the wallpaper, and we've always depended on the kindness of strangers like you.